The problem is, and I've got William Clouston here with me, William. I mean, you're looking like I'm feeling listening to that. The Tories are not really offering much in the way of an alternative here because they can't, can they?
They can't. I mean, the overriding idea in the election in the summer was to punish the Tories.
Yeah.
A lot of voters were perfectly aware of the fact that Labour could be worse, and they've proved that. So, there's no love for the Tories, I'm afraid, and the problem for them politically is that if you've betrayed the public to the extent they have on things like migration, why would you believe anything?
And that is the bottom line, isn't it? So many people that I talk to, and I'm sure that you talk to up and down the country, mention immigration as the single biggest factor in what is problematic for them about what's going on in this country. And like today, we see the Waspi women, £10 billion, they say, is too much of a burden on taxpayers. But £10 billion to pay for migrants is not a burden on the taxpayer.
Oh yeah, no, that's like the winter fuel allowance cut, and that can be cut, and you can have a crack at family farms, which is actually a report came out the other day that said that that'll be tax negative, won't raise anything at all, completely a waste of time punishing people. They always find the money when they want to. The Waspi women issue is a difficult issue, actually. I think equalisation of the pension age was right and fair, and in fact women live longer than men, so they're getting a bigger pension in the long run anyway. I think there's no doubt at all that were some tranches of women that were not given sufficient time to plan. That's quite clear, and that's a legitimate case.
And that is a legitimate case. But I think part of the reason why people are so critical of the government now is because of what they said before. Like everything else, it's not so much whether or not the issue is right or wrong. It's about if they make a promise and then break it, people are going, well, the word is worth nothing.
Liz Kendall campaigned with the Waspi women. Keir
there's
Starmer,
pictures of all of them in the papers
Starmer
today.
did. He campaigned with them. And I would ask you, Mike, how many thousands of people voted Labour because of that issue? How many Waspi women voted for Labour?
Probably all
because of that, and then it's bye-bye, see you. And it's as good as a Labour tax pledge, I'm afraid. You shouldn't believe anything they say.
And that is now the problem that Keir Starmer has. I mean, even Dan Hodges today was saying that this is actually bigger than everything that they've done so far in terms of a betrayal, in terms of, a senseless kind of act of self-harm that the government have now done to themselves, because even if people did believe them before this, now they won't.
I don't think it's on magnitude. I think it's a pretty wicked thing to convene votes and then betray people. That's true. In terms of magnitude, it's not as big as the damage they've done to the economy. We're now into negative growth last month. People are talking in the city. They're talking about a Reeves session. This is very serious. Talking down, and it betrays the lack of business experience, commercial experience in this government. They have none.
Well, so many of them are jumped up councillors, is what I want to call them. I mean, basically. I spoke to a guy called Jim McMahon the other day, who's apparently the devolution minister. I mean, me neither, right? He just couldn't answer a question, and all he could do was spout these kind of platitudes about missions and aims and promises and
it's a random word. Generator, isn't it?
Just a word generator, and he couldn't. When I asked him anything specific, he couldn't answer it. We'll have to wait and see, they say.
But Mike, it's so unnecessary. This is the problem. If you look at financial balances in the real economy, no doubt the government sector is in trouble. There's overspending and it's in deficit, struggling to balance the budget. You look at the households. Households have, against banks, have 300 billion in the bank, basically. Companies, corporates in this country have over 100 billion. That money is ready to be deployed if you had a government that believed in the country and said, we're going to go forward, we're going to build something, we're going to get growth going seriously and believe them. They don't. What they did was come into power and said, it's actually worse than we thought, it's terrible. Everyone slammed the brakes on, and then they slam the corporate sector with NI and extra taxes, and that slows everything down. And you reap what you sow, I'm afraid.
And then they say that they're going to generate growth because they've got this kind of weird socialist eye about this hybrid kind of, public sector, private partnership thing, which actually means the public sector pays for everything, i.e. the taxpayer does the investing, and then, we all lose out.
The social market works if you understand what the market is. The market provides the goods and services that we need and the profits. And a lot of people on the Labour side don't understand that you need profits. No profits, no tax, no government sector. You've got to be pro-profits. You've got to be pro-investment, and they haven't. So, I that's the problem. I listen to them, and an area I've talked to you about before, and I know a bit about housing, and it just depresses me, Mike. They can't even count. They are silly enough to say we want 1.5 million homes in the Parliament. That's 350 a year. They're nowhere near doing that. And if you can count, if you allow 1 million people in a year, the inherent demand, the housing need for that is over 1/3 homes.
Well, that's why
so
I keep
it's gone.
saying, yeah, but that's why immigration is at the heart of all of this.
It is.
The more people that come in, the less good the services become. And the idea that they're going to try by 2029 to get to a point where you won't have to wait more than 18 weeks for an operation.
No.
Oh, great. So in but that doesn't take into account the fact that in 5 years' time, there'll probably be another 5 million people here.
There could easily be. And those are the ones they know about.
Yeah.
So no, it's a shambles. I'm afraid, I've said it before, and it is bad for the country. The only certainty in British politics is that this government will fail. It's already failing.
Yeah.
And I've said before that you're going to have a political revolution. It's very, very interesting what's happening with Elon Musk and the support.
Well, the picture on the front page of the Telegraph and the Times today, and the lead story in the Telegraph, Elon Musk's joined up with Nigel Farage and Nick Candy standing there in Mar-a-Lago, sending shivers down the spine of any Tory donor or anybody from the Tory party trying to get donors.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, the reforms, there's two sides to this. There's that side, the sort of, Trump, Elon Musk side, and, there's a potential massive donation. Now, personally, we had an electoral pact with Reform last election, so for 2 years I couldn't, out of gentlemanliness, I didn't really say exactly what I think. I think their programme is the wrong programme on economics. I think it's totally the wrong vision. But this will terrify the Labour Party, and it will terrify the Tories, and I can't see either of them recovering.
Yeah.
I think all the stars are aligning for a major revolution in the next election.
I think so. I keep saying to people who ask me, I see absolutely no reason why Nigel Farage can't be the next Prime Minister of this country.
I agree with you.
I actually think there might be one in between, because I don't think Starmer's going to last. I've got this theory, which I've had since July, that he will not last the pace, because he's so bad. He doesn't enjoy it. He doesn't like being as unpopular as he is. And we've seen today some clips from him talking to Harry Cole out in Estonia. He's clearly a man who is not on top of his game. He doesn't really know what he's doing and is being badly advised into the bargain.
Well, that's right. I saw that interview in The Sun with Harry Cole, and it was a good one. But what you got from Starmer was the same platitude, the same. He talks in generalities. Right. He has no idea what he's. And on the US and EU trade talks, he wants to ride both horses. He's saying that he can have both things, and he can't.
No,
there's no way he can. But anyway, so there will be a sort of revolution, I think, in politics. If you look at the detail of what's actually happening in council elections, we follow them very closely and contest many of them in the big cities, Manchester, Sheffield, Leeds. Reform have gone from literally nowhere, 50 votes, 100 votes, to over 1,000 votes. And that's with no ground game at all. When they get money, the big money's flowing.
And they've now gone over 100,000 members, where this time last year they had about, 10,000?
Yeah, no, the big money, they've sniffed the air, the big money's flowing in. Now, I think that distorts politics. I think that's bad for politics. I don't like the idea of big tech and big money just flowing in and saying, they'll expect something in return. They'll, there are rumours. They always do. And there are rumours that, that Musk isn't very happy with the online safety bill. And I've argued for many a month now that we should ban smartphones for the under-16s. Can't see that lasting very long if big tech's in charge. So I'm afraid the vision that you've got, I'm very concerned about it, is that these donations to Reform, I think they probably will be successful. It certainly could well be ahead of the polls. Paddy O'Flynn saying that. I think that could well happen. And I see nothing to stop it, really, in the short term, because the two big parties are so atrocious. And what the public are not daft. They use our electoral system, the system we have. They'll pick up the biggest cudgel to hit the party in power with, and then by the next election that could be Reform, and that's the problem. Because as I say, on economics and free trade and industry, I don't think they have any answers at all. And in fact, even on something like border control, the SDP's policy is far stronger than theirs, far stronger.
And there was a time when you guys were talking, though, wasn't there? And you were
we had a pact.
We had a pact at the election. Would that not be something you would do again?
If you believe in PR, you believe in voting reform, I would talk again about that. Whether they'd be inclined to do it, I'm not sure. Frankly, I did the deal with Richard Tice, and then Nigel came in and things changed a little bit. We just hung on with our fingers.
Well, that is the question that people put to Reform, isn't it? Is it just the party of Nigel Farage? And Nigel will tell us that that's why they're changing it. They're trying to make it more professional, more of an organisation rather than a one-man sort of band with a few people around it. But that's going to be difficult for them, isn't it?
It is. It's a major challenge for them. But that's not the major challenge for them, really. The challenge is that the gap in British politics and the future is a patriotic party that doesn't flog the country to anyone that will pay the biggest price. Look at Royal Mail being flogged off. You need a party that will stand up for Britain not flog our water industry off to be siphoned off to somewhere else.
We're a bit late for that, isn't it?
Yeah, but no, but you've got to have a party that wants to do that, and the sort of zombie Thatcherism you get from reform is not the answer to that. They convene a lot of votes in places like South Yorkshire. I look at it very carefully. I'm afraid their economic message is not on top. But the sad thing is, the public is so desperate, they don't care. They'll just vote for anyone to get rid of this.
Also,
awful...
do you not now think as well that the way that people vote tends to now be along the lines of saying single issues, so that, for example, people will vote about immigration. If they think reform is going to do something about immigration, that's good enough. It doesn't matter that their other, perhaps, policies are not there.
Yeah, no, it's very well observed. No, I think that's absolutely right. And I think the reason why there will be a revolution probably at the next election is that I think all of these things, every single election that happens in continental Europe, you get the populist surge, AFD in Germany, and all over the place, Central Europe. Every time it happens, and all these bright people in the FT and other people, oh, why is this happening? We're not really sure. It's happening because the liberalism that you're forcing on people, all the woke nonsense, won't stop. And people will vote. People want protection. They'll vote until someone protects them. So I'd say the next election, the immigration thing will just continue. The boats won't stop with this silly stop the boats plan that Starmer has. It won't work at all. So it'll be worse. Mass immigration will continue. And then the public at the election will want help, and they'll probably look at Farage. Many people probably who haven't ever wanted to vote for him before will say, oh, actually, I sort of trust him on immigration, and they'll vote for him probably. But it's not actually what the country needs. The country needs faith, flag and family. It needs state and nation, I think. That's what people are after.
Yeah, and that doesn't exist right now, perhaps.
Apart from us. Apart from us,
you.
Which we're building.
Speaking of local elections, what about this ridiculous nonsense of the sort of what I call the super gerrymandering of Britain now, which is being planned by Angela Rayner and this whole devolution project, which, again, nobody's really asking for. But they're sort of determined to do, but nobody knows quite what they're doing, how they're going to do it, and what it means for the elections in May.
It's totally imposed, I mean, I think it's very bad. I mean, a lot of people love their district councils. District councils are actually much, much closer to people. Usually, in an English county, a district council will be in your biggest town in your area, and it's local, and you've got a local paper, and they report on things. And we lost that in Northumberland by an imposed single-tier thing, and that's what they want to do. So, no, you can't come into government and then months before, apart from it's unfair to the public and political parties that are planning campaigns. Right throughout the country, we don't know whether we're after a mark, we don't know whether we're actually going to contest these elections or not. But I wouldn't put it past them.
Well, we had a caller from Dorset the other day who said he's not sure what would happen to Dorset because Dorset has about 1 million people, so it's below the threshold of the 1.5 million they say would become a sort of super
authority,
whatever it is. He's like, what does that mean? Does it mean that we'll be folded in with Hampshire and that somehow the capital of Dorset will now be Southampton? I mean,
it takes power away from localities. It really does. You know, where decisions were taken in your town or your village even, they're taken in County Hall and it's remote. And people don't turn up. They don't even watch the council chamber, even when it's online. They don't. So it just disconnects them, and that's what I'm really concerned about. Yeah,
it's a problem. Good to talk to you, William. Thank you very much indeed. William Clouston from the SDP, the leader of the SDP, of course. Much more to hear from him, I'm sure, in the coming weeks and months.